Let's imagine two versions of yourself. The first isn't in shape. They don't go to the gym regularly. They don't track what they eat or avoid junk food. They eat a lot of sugar. They drink a lot of alcohol. Maybe they have a desk job and they sit for most of the day. And maybe when they get home, instead of doing anything productive, they wind down by playing video games or watching TV. They don't seem to have any ambitious energy. They have trouble getting out of bed in the morning. If you're male, then you'd probably have low testosterone. When they see junk food, like maybe a coworker brings a box of donuts in, then they have a really hard time resisting it. Everyone else has got one donut in their hand while they look at you while you grab your third. There's kind of a low level of respect from all of the people around you. Even from people that are nice to you, right? Everyone's nice to you, but they don't seem to have any respect for you. You don't really seem to be getting a lot of attention from girls. Maybe you've even tried a few advances, but they've never really worked out for you. Maybe you even know deep down that you should be working out and that you've let yourself go, but you don't feel motivated enough to do it. And so it kind of comes out in like insecure jokes with maybe your friends where you're like, yeah, I really let myself go, haha, I'll get into the gym soon. The other version of you is shredded as fuck. When they enter a room, they instantly command respect from anybody inside of it. Their frame physically dominates everyone in the room just by existing without them saying a word. They hit the gym regularly. They have a routine that most people just aren't consistent enough to ever think about following. They avoid and they even detest junk food. They haven't eaten it in so long that they just don't like the taste. They have unlimited energy and motivation because trash foods aren't fucking up their hormones. High testosterone. You get regular advances and attention from the opposite sex just because of how you look. They basically start talking about you behind your back. Everyone respects you. You command respect now. Even the people that don't like you still respect you because of the work that you've put in. Sometimes you'll just disappear into the gym for a couple of hours on some random holiday or something, and your family will go what, you're working out today? You're working out at this hour? Nothing stands in your way. You're consistent no matter what. Please believe me when I say that building an aesthetic physique is one of the most powerful forms of self-love out there. Not only do you get healthy, but you also build respect and attraction from others. You also teach yourself discipline and consistency, which are skills that are applicable throughout all paths in life. Today I'm going to teach you exactly how to get an aesthetic physique by targeting the three most important factors, right? So you have to understand there's something called the Pareto principle, which says that throughout all of life, throughout many things, there is usually a small factor that contributes to a large percentage of the results. It says that about 20% of the things contribute to about 80% of the results. This is visible throughout stuff like sales, where the top performers get most of the clients, and exercise and health, where certain factors contribute to most of the progress. And so we're going to go over the three today. And the three are 1, exercise, 2, diet, and 3, the skill of consistency. Obviously, no matter what anyone else says, building an aesthetic physique is hard and it's complicated. But if you follow these 3 things, I'm confident that anybody, and I do mean anybody, can build an aesthetic body. First off, let's talk about exercise. So the best way to get an aesthetic physique in a reasonable amount of time is to follow what's called the push-pull-legs routine. And this routine is 6 days a week, which might seem like a lot, but it's very important for consistency. So this is what I highly recommend. If you really can't, then you can look up routines that are more like 5 days a week or 4 days a week or even 3 days a week. But honestly, those ones just won't be as effective, and I can't guarantee that you'll get the results that you want. So it's better to follow push-pull legs. So basically speaking, push-pull legs is you split the routine into 3 basic days, which are push, the push muscles, pull, the pull muscles, and legs, which are obviously the legs. The push muscles are primarily chest, shoulders, and triceps, which are the back of the arm. The pull muscles are going to be focused on bicep, the front of the arm, and your back. And legs are going to be focused on, obviously, legs. What we want to get, and what this routine is very good at targeting, is a V-taper shape. So that's sort of this upside down triangle shape from shoulder to waist to shoulder, because wide shoulders is proven to be more attractive to the female gaze. Basically, this guide is kind of meant for men. If you're a woman watching this, then you can obviously just like search up the alternatives for women, and I'm sure you can find a smarter person than me to explain it to you. As for the content of the routine, we want to focus on compound exercises, which are more dynamic exercises that use more than one muscle, right? So an isolation exercise is an exercise that targets primarily one muscle. Think about bicep curls, right? If you do single arm bicep curls, that's just going to work the bicep, a single muscle. And isolation exercises have their place for targeting specific things that are lacking. But when we focus on compound movements, we're going to get more bang for our buck. So compound movements include things like bench press, incline bench press, squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, stuff like that, right? You can look up a whole list, which I highly recommend. But basically, these ones are going to be way more effective than just the single muscles or the machines. As an actionable step right now, because we deal with practicals on this channel and not vague advice, I want you to go to ChatGPT, which is chat.com, and I want you to just ask it for a 6-day push-pull leg routine and tell it to focus on compound exercises. And it'll print you out a 6-day routine, and I want you to save that to whatever notes app on your phone. So go do that right now. Pause the video. I don't want you to watch anymore. Pause the video, go do that. It'll take you 2 seconds, and then come back here. It's also important to understand the timeline of results that you can expect from this. If you're doing everything else right, then you won't see results for the first month, I think. But after the first month, you might see a strength increase. But after the first month, the following months, you'll actually start to see like some serious muscle growth. So there's that to look forward to. Just be patient with yourself. Understand that results don't come immediately and that you are building progress, even if you don't see it straight away. So yeah, just be patient. I go into detail on all of this in my full program, which you can access by just clicking the link in the description and reading the content and watching the video. I think you'll benefit a lot from that because I basically put all of the value I can possibly offer into that program, and I can't possibly ever fit anything like that into any one of these YouTube videos. So basically you'll get stuff that other people won't get, and also like one-on-one contact with me so I can help you out. So if you're serious about building an aesthetic body, I highly recommend that you go check that out, and you want to invest in yourself, then I highly recommend that you check that out, read the stuff, watch the video, and then if it doesn't seem like it's for you right now, then just close the tab and you can come back here and watch the rest of this video. Now let's talk about diet. So diet is extremely important because that'll give you the lean look and it'll support muscle growth, right? For example, abs are not actually dependent on working your abdominal muscles. Abs, that sort of six-pack shredded look, mostly come from your diet and looking lean. So you can get a six-pack without actually having strong abs. Isn't that kind of cool? So we're going to focus on two things with our diet, which is eating a lot of macros to support muscle growth and also eating clean foods. So I want to put you on a very simple diet for eating clean. And it's very simple for anyone to understand, okay? And I call it the caveman diet. Basically, what you want to do is eat foods that are sourced as close to nature as possible. So single ingredient foods. This could mean like, for example, a slice of salmon, right? Instead of buying a pre-processed like breakfast burrito or something like that, you want to find single ingredient foods that basically don't have any processed junk in them. So you know exactly what's in them. Potatoes, fish, meat, steak, chicken, eggs, spinach, stuff like this, right? Does that make sense? Basically, when you eat a meal, you want the plate to just have single ingredient items on it. not pre-processed crap that you don't know what the hell's in. You want the caveman diet, something your ancestors ate, right? If your ancestors ate it, it's probably good for you. As a kind of advanced tip, I would say largely avoid a lot of carbohydrates or sugars. We're kind of over inundated with carbs as a society, and it's definitely not good for us. If you're going to eat carbs, which are, by the way, good for lifting because they give you energy, then I would say stick to complex carbs. You can look up a full list, but basically complex carbohydrates, the sugar molecules in the foods are longer, and so they take longer to break down. And so that leads to a more sustained form of energy, if that makes sense. Complex carbs come from mainly oats, sweet potatoes, whole grains, foods kind of like that, brown rice, stuff like that. I encourage you to look up a full list. This will really help you stay lean. Now let's talk about macros, which are the three kind of markers that you should look for within your foods and your diet, right? So macros are proteins, carbs, and fats. And so they're some of the most important nutrients when it comes to bodybuilding. If you want to build muscle, you should be getting 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. However you want to take that, protein powder, a lot of meat, whatever, just make sure you're getting at least that. Carbs should make up, as a general rule by other people, 50% of your diet, especially if you're bulking. 50% of your calories should come from carb-heavy foods like potatoes, right? Now, if you're avoiding carbs, like I suggested, then this can obviously be less. That's a lot of carbs. So feel free to make that number a little bit less. But if you're really trying to gain weight and sort of bulk, then definitely get those carbs in. And lastly, fats should make up about 20% of your diet. This shouldn't be too hard to hit, but it's very easy to go over. So make sure to kind of avoid a lot of fatty foods. Eat healthy fats if you can, such as olive oil or natural grass-fed butter. As another actionable step, because again, we deal with practicals on this channel, I want you to download an app called MyFitnessPal for your phone if you don't already have it. I'm serious about this, by the way. I want my advice to help you, but it won't help you if you don't take action. And this app is free, by the way, and it's super easy to set up. You just go to the App Store or whatever for Android, look up MyFitnessPal, and then download it and go through the little introduction. It'll ask you some questions like I think your weight and your goals and how active you already are, and just set that up, and it'll give you calorie goals every single day. It'll give you macro goals every single day that you should check. So once you set up an account, we can get to the main benefit, which is you're tracking foods every single day. MyFitnessPal is a fantastic platform to track foods on. So after every single meal, what you're going to do is press this little plus icon. You can go to log foods. You're just going to log every ingredient in that food, right? So if we're going with the caveman diet, again, maybe you say 1 fillet of salmon, 2 potatoes, right? A cup of spinach, a cup of lettuce, something like that. And basically you're going to log that for every single meal. It can be kind of hard at first and annoying at first, but make sure you do it because it'll give you a huge benefit over the person that doesn't. Lastly, let's talk about consistency. And if exercise, diet, and consistency together are the top 20% that lead to 80% of the results, then consistency on its own is probably the 20% that leads to the 80% of those top 3. Consistency is that important because if I teach you today what I've taught you today, and you go for 5 days and then you drop off, then that's not going to get you anything. Or if you say you're going to work out 6 days a week and then you work out 3 days a week, that averages to a lousy workout all 6 days, right? So you're not going to get those results unless you're consistent. And this is why it's so important. So this last point, consistency, is the most important point of probably weightlifting and bodybuilding ever. First of all, you have to understand that anyone can be consistent at anything, but you have to understand neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is basically habit building. It's basically connection building in the brain, right? And what we want to do is leverage that to build the habit so it feels automatic. Neuroplasticity the kind of principle we're going to follow is that the more you repeat or do something, the more routine it becomes and the more automatic it will be in the future. Basically, the more you do it, the easier it gets to do. So, as hard as consistency seems at first, after you start being consistent, it'll soon feel easy. So, exercising 6 days out of the week forever will feel hard at first, and it'll seem hard to the beginner. But for you, after about a month, it'll start to feel more automatic. And in order to reliably do this, because I don't know how disciplined you are, I don't know how motivated you are, but I do know I can get you to be consistent. We're going to leverage a technique that basically I hear no one talking about, right? So no one in the fitness space talks about this. And that is, you want to make it so easy to show up that it's ridiculous, that your ego takes a hit, okay? Because nothing happens if you don't show up. All right, you could have this crazy intense exercise routine, but if you don't show up one day, then you didn't do anything. That's zero. I want you to set the bar so low that your ego takes a hit. When you're first starting out, I want you to make your push-pull leg routine. I'm going to do 2 push-ups when I go to the gym today. I'm going to do 1 pull-up when I go to the gym today. I'm going to do 1 bodyweight squat when I go to the gym today. And that seems ridiculous, but whatever the hell gets you to show up is what works, okay? And if, you show up and you feel like doing more, then you can always do more. And that's a very extreme example. That might not be necessary. But basically, I want you to take whatever level of workout you're at, right? So I assume that you went to ChatGPT and you put in the request for a routine, and it gave you a routine. I want you to take that, and I want you to try and simplify it a little bit. Maybe not that much, but simplify it. You don't have to do all exercises. And then if you still can't be consistent, lower it more. I want you to lower it until you can be consistent, and that never stops. So it might be 6 exercises one day, and then you simplify that to maybe like 3, right? But that doesn't work, and so you simplify it to 2. And that doesn't work, so you simplify it to 1. And then you're like, okay, it's been a long day at work. I don't want to go to the gym, but there's only 1 exercise that I'm going to be doing anyways. I'm going to be doing 3 sets of 10 reps, and that's it. So I might as well just show up. You see? And that seems ridiculous. It seems like very counterintuitive to what we're talking about, but I'm begging you to just try it out. Okay? Especially if you're an inconsistent person, just make it extremely easy to show up. Even if that means I'm just going to drive to the gym, do nothing, and then come home. When you get to the gym, you'll be like, all right, now I'm in the mood to work out. See? Again, it's habit building. It'll get easier to do this in the future the more we do it, but it won't get easier if we don't do anything. So you can kind of see how doing a lesser workout, doing a really bad workout, if we're thinking about neuroplasticity, doing a really bad workout but showing up every single day will build neuroplasticity. It will build the habit. Whereas, kind of having a patchy routine where I show up some days but not other days, that won't build the habit, and that'll encourage skipping days in the future. So I want you to take this seriously, and I want you to really make an effort to show up every day, even at the sacrifice of the intensity of your workouts. You have to also understand that motivation is fleeting, and that routines and systems will always beat motivation. Feeling like it doesn't really matter. You have to show up and do it anyways. And the best way to kind of orchestrate this is to just make a consistent routine where every single day I go at a specific time and I know exactly what I'm doing. And this is the power of having printed out, or rather save the notes on your routine on your phone, because you know exactly what you're doing every single day. Think about it. You don't have to employ discipline to brush your teeth at night, I assume. Why is that? It's something you have to do every single day, but you do easily. It's because it's not It doesn't require discipline or motivation. It's just a part of your routine. You do it before bed, right? It's also important to forgive slips and restart quickly. So we're all going to have bad days where we skip the gym, we just don't feel like it, we're inconsistent, stuff like that. What you have to understand is dwelling on it isn't really going to fix anything. You have to forgive that. Then you have to make a commitment to restart early. So just say, okay, tomorrow, for sure, if I get nothing else done, I am going to go to the gym. And from then on, I'm going to be consistent. And that will help reinforce neuroplasticity. Because even though you may get inconsistent after a while, that might really not happen. That might not stick forever. You can again quickly reset after the next slip up. And that's okay. Another tip on leveling up consistency is that you have to say no to excuses regularly. Basically, if there's an equation to consistency, it is the more excuses you say no to, the easier consistency will be in the future. And you want consistency to be easy, right? You don't want that kind of mental friction between you and the habit. So think about this. You feel bad one day. You feel like you have low energy. You don't feel very strong. Maybe you had a really bad day. You had a really crappy day. You don't feel like working out. If you just said no to that excuse and worked out anyways, then what's going to happen the next time you have a crappy day? You're probably going to say, okay, back when I had the first crappy day, I worked out anyways. This crappy day isn't necessarily worse, so I'll just work out again. Right? Whereas if you said yes to that excuse, you said, okay, I'll just skip today. What happens the next time you have a crappy day? You're going to say, well, I had a crappy day before and I skipped, and it's another crappy day today, so I might as well just skip. Right? So the more excuses you say no to, the easier consistency will be, and the more you set yourself up for success in the future. At the deepest level, our brains just crave cognitive consistency. It just wants to relive the same routine over and over. It wants to do what's natural, right? And so when you give it that opportunity by making this thing routine and a part of your life, then it's naturally going to like working out more than it's going to like skipping. I don't know if that sounds like crazy, but your brain is going to enjoy showing up to the gym more than it is going to enjoy messing up the routine and making it like weird. Your brain's going to start thinking like, whoa, wait, we're not at the gym at this time? Why? We need to be there. This is when I normally go. So that's something to look forward to on your journey in consistency. You got value from this video, there's something you can do which is a win-win for both of us, which is to just scroll down and press the subscribe button. I win because I get a new subscriber, and you win because anytime I have an insight or I learn something new or I try something new, then I can just make a video about it and teach you and provide you directly with value. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.